So today, the session is Manifest 82 weeks. Again, wow, amazing. This one is called the Seed of Potential. Okay. So there's a couple of things in here. Okay. So the first thing is the seed that is in you. The reason why this whole thing came about was because, as you know, I have a daughter, Tiwa. She's sitting in the back there. And it was after she was born, right after she was born, I was holding her. And it was just such an interesting, surreal experience. Chad explained it last week. The new manifest just dropped now. And he was speaking about baby Nissi and how that feeling was just so surreal that you couldn't even put into words. The love of a father towards their child is just something that you can't explain. But when I was holding my daughter, the thing that I realized is, like, although I'm holding just one small vessel like this is actually, in reality, it's a whole nation that is quite literally in the palm of my hand. And it was like a crazy revelation that I received because, she's also going to marry somebody, give birth to a child, and that child will marry and give birth to a child. And it just kind of made me understand things, that everything is a seed, right? And a seed, it turns into a plant, grows fruit, which has a seed, which turns into a plant, which grows fruit, which turns into a seed, and the cycle continues on and on. So when we're eating an apple and we have like a small seed in our hand, it's actually a forest. It's a very large group of apple trees that you're actually holding, okay? But the fact of the matter is that you're holding a seed, but the truth is that it's a forest that is quite literally in the palm of your hands. And the topic for today, I'm going to go into it a little bit. The theme scripture is from the book of Genesis 17, verses 4 to 7. This is the NLT version. This is what God said to Abram before he changed his name to Abraham. He says, "This is my covenant with you. I will make you a father of a multitude of nations. What's more, I am changing your name. It will no longer be Abram. Instead, you will be called Abraham. For you will be the father of many nations. I will make you extremely fruitful. Your descendants will become many nations, and kings will be among them. I will confirm my covenant with you and your descendants after you from generation to generation. This is the everlasting covenant. I will always be your God and the God of your ancestors after you." So we know the story of Abraham. He had his first child at 75. God promised him a child, and he didn't have the child until in his 90s, all right? So 25 years after, that's when he had his first child, and that child was Isaac. But imagine, God told Abraham, "You'll be the father of many nations," when the man doesn't even have a single child yet, He says, look at the stars of the sky. Your descendants will be as numerous as the stars in the sky. Can you imagine how crazy that sounds? Because if we look at things based off facts, okay? And we live in a world that if it's not, verifiable, observable, it's not considered anything more than a fact, right? But the fact was, Abraham had no children. How is he going to be the father of many nations? God didn't see that. God saw the truth, which was that you are going to be the father of many nations. There's a difference between the two. Potential, which is the topic of today, okay? Potential is unrealized gain. Okay, it's unrealized. It means that it is in the abstract. It hasn't manifested yet. Your potential is what has not yet happened. Okay, when we say that person has a lot of potential, you're not basing it off fact. You're basing it off what they could become, which is in the abstract. Okay, it's not something that you can track or prove or verify, which is why we kind of love the underdog per se. If somebody's fighting, I do boxing, myself. So people fight, aim for the underdog, really want the underdog to win. Everybody's rooting for the underdog because although the person that they're fighting on paper, it's a fact that they should lose on paper, all right? But the truth is, there's something that's deep down inside you that still wants them to win. And you don't know how, but you just feel like there's something that could happen, that they could end up winning that fight. They haven't proven it. It's not been tested. The facts are clear. They have not been under pressure before. So why are we rooting for them to do it? It's in the abstract. And when we look at facts, we see them as concrete. But in the world that we're in, it seems that we actually operate more in the abstract than meets the eye. All right? So we're in a reality. This reality that we're currently in is a reality that we can see with our eyes. But deep down, inside every person, whether you believe or not, there's another reality that your eyes can't see. Okay? And that's where most people actually, operate. We operate in the realm of the unseen. So it brings me to, what does the Oxford Dictionary say about these two things? A fact and a noun. So a fact is a thing that is known or proven to be true. Example, it is a fact that water boils at 100 degrees. That's a fact, okay? That's something you can prove. You can put 10 kettles of water on the table, boil them all to 100 degrees, all of them will boil. That is something that can be verified and is true, okay? So the key features of a fact is that it's observable or provable reality. We can see it with our eyes, it's observable, we can see it, and we can prove it, right? You don't need to see that the kettle is going to boil. If somebody tells you that it's 100 degrees, you'll say it will boil. That's a fact, because you know it, all right? It's often tied to the physical, the present, or historical. It's limited to what can be measured, seen, or verified, okay? And then we dive into truth. There's another noun, and that is the quality or state of being in accordance, which is agreement, with a fact or reality, or a fact or belief that is accepted as true. And the key features of this is that it's broader and deeper than a fact. How can something be broader and deeper than a fact if what's true is true? All right? It's broader and deeper. It can include spiritual, moral, or eternal realities. Just like I said, when I see a seed in my hand, and if somebody gives it to you and they say, this is a seed, and you say, no, it's a forest, you could argue on that. But none of you are wrong. Like, you're both correct, all right? In that this is a forest in your hand because it's going to grow to turn into a seed that will grow a flower that will turn into a plant, and it will keep going that way. But it's also objectively a seed. Okay? And this may transcend present circumstances, sometimes subjective or revealed. It's not just observable. So it's not just in what you see. It can be the abstract. Just like you don't see the forest when you're holding that seed in your hand. So, Philippians 4:13 tells us, For I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. Okay? And we know that potential is what you haven't yet done. Okay? So I'm going to go into a couple of people in the Bible. I'm going to mention their name. I'm going to mention some facts about them. And I'm going to mention a truth that was spoken about them. But there's 4 scriptures. I won't go into all of them because of time. So I'm going to read, you can do this in your own separate reading. I'll read out the theme scriptures. It's Judges 6, 1-16, Exodus 3, 1-14, Joshua 2, 1-21, and then the book of Acts 9, 1-22. If you need them at the end, come to me, I'll give them to you. So, the name of this person is Gideon. We all know who Gideon is. When we look at him, we say, this guy is a coward, all right? He is the weakest of the bunch. And even of the weakest family, he's the weakest in that family, okay? That's who he is. But God comes to him and says, that's a fact about him, okay? We know that to be a verifiable fact. You can go, ask him to fight his older brother, he gets beaten. Ask his family to fight another family, they get beaten, okay? You can verify that. They're the weakest, okay? But God said to him, you're a mighty warrior, all right? It doesn't really make sense, because where's God getting that fact from? But God doesn't look at the realm of the fact. He sees the forest in the seed rather than just the seed itself, okay? He sees way deeper. He sees the potential, the thing that's unrealized. That's where he operates from. Another person is Moses. He says, I have no authority or identity. We all know Moses was once a prince in Egypt before he decided to kill somebody because of his anger. All right. Then he went to the land of Midian, spent 40 years there, had no authority. He had to become a farmer, help a farmer, marry one of his daughters. But it was him that God decided to go and have the burning bush. At the time, there was many burning bushes. Many burning bushes. It always used to happen because of the heat. But there was this burning bush that he decided to stop at and go to and observe. And it's only then that a voice came to him. And that's when God spoke, And then he says, I want you to be the one to go and set my people free. Out of all people he could have went to, he went to the one that had no identity, the one that factually had nothing. He was a nobody. He wasn't even the person that you could use. He had a stammer. He couldn't speak well. These are all facts about him. But God still said, you're the one that's going to set the Israelites free. On paper, once again, it doesn't make any sense. All right? The next person is Rahab. She was from Jericho, and she was a prostitute. Okay? So when we look at things on paper, that's a fact. Okay? She did whatever she felt like she needed to do. But she was in a doomed city. So when the spies came, she housed them. And what happened afterwards? That same Rahab saved her family and was in the lineage of the savior of mankind. Like God didn't see her as what she was. He saw her for what she was, what he created her for. He didn't see her for her, past. And that's why we spoke about in the pursuit of purpose. Your purpose came before your past. That might have been her past, but that was not her purpose. It's completely different. God sees the forest in the seed. He doesn't just see the seed. He doesn't even just see the fruit that would come from the seed. He sees way past it. Generations of millions and millions of seeds and more fruits afterwards. Then we have Apostle Paul, murderer, okay? Although he didn't directly kill anybody, but if somebody was killed here and I agreed with you killing them and the police arrest everybody that was on the scene, I'm getting arrested because I'm an accomplice to murder, okay? So he's a murderer, okay? He was a violent enemy of Christ. All he wanted to do, he lived for catching Christians and subjugating them. Like he actually woke up in the morning to say, oh man, I hope I find a couple of these guys today. Like he really wanted to find Christians, to put them away, to put them in jail, because he really felt like he was doing something right, all right? But God didn't see him for what he was. Once again, God saw New Testament. That's what God saw. He saw it way bigger than any of that. This man is going to allow people to understand realms of God that nobody else would be able to understand before him. Christ came and he gave some information, but Paul deciphered that information and broke it down to its molecular level so that we can even understand it. Even the most, I won't even say the word, but even a person that has a lack of understanding can understand because of those teachings. That's who God chose. So, as we spoke about purpose, we're diving into potential. But once again, all of these things surround identity. Identity is at the core of a lot of this stuff. It's only when you understand who you are and whose you are can you understand all of the other things. So the question is, what's blocking your potential? What is blocking it? And when we say potential, it's unrealized gains, okay? It's unrealized, yes. What is blocking your unrealized gain? One of the things is negative self-talk. Okay, we speak about it all the time. Negative self-talk. When you speak about yourself, you say, I'm so stupid. Something as little as that. You don't understand how much power that has, because we were told in the word, the flesh, that life and death are in the power of your tongue. Life and death are in the power of your tongue. So you can either bless or curse from what you say. So when you're putting a curse on yourself by saying you're so stupid, you are becoming exactly what you've just professed over yourself. All right? It doesn't seem like it's a big thing, because it can be something so insignificant and small. Oh, I'm so, But then you go and say that, and before you know it, it's like a snowball effect, right? Like a snowball starts off as a tiny piece of snow like this, and as you keep pushing it along, the snow grows and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Before you know it, it's a massive boulder. Well, if you keep doing that, it's the same effect. You speak negative about yourself, and before you know it, it's a surefire way to eventually block the potential that you have. Another one is fear of failure. We all experience these types of things, all right? When parents, for example, you fail in a test, they withdraw love from you. You do well in a test, they give you love back. And all of a sudden, you don't want to fail because you don't want the love to be withdrawn from you, all right? And before you know it, you start to learn that, oh, if I just do what I need to do for them to love me, well, all of a sudden, you guarantee that you won't be able to live up to your full potential because you're doing it for the sake of somebody else. You're doing it to receive love from somebody. It's like give and take. As long as I get the love, I'm okay. As long as I get that affirmation from that person, I'm okay. Not knowing that you've received the largest affirmation from the one that created you already. Childhood trauma is another one. We've all experienced it. We all had childhood trauma. We spoke about the pursuit of purpose, some of the stuff that I went through. I'm sure everybody has their own. Trauma is subjective. You've experienced something that might have held you down. Somebody might have said something to you, did something to you that might have pulled you down, and you felt like that is the thing that is blocking your potential, the unrealized gain. Identity confusion. Once again, we spoke about in the pursuit of purpose, how my identity was in everything other than the right things. And it was in that I didn't realize what my potential was. I was only doing the wrong thing. Comfort is another one. Comparison is another one. When we say comparison is the thief of joy, it really is, okay? And silence is also another thing that will block your potential. And if your purpose came before your past, then your past can't be proof that you're disqualified. So when we say that a fact is objective, we can say this is a fact. But if we know that the truth is that your purpose came first, well, that fact shouldn't disqualify you from what's to come. Otherwise, it would have disqualified Peter, it would have disqualified Paul, it would have disqualified Gideon, it would have disqualified David. Like imagine David is about to fight Goliath, all right? And we look at the fact, this guy's 10 foot tall, David's probably 5 foot, okay? Short king. He could be, that's probably the height that he is. And all of a sudden, he is now about to go to fight somebody that's 9 foot tall. On paper, it doesn't make any sense. He's never even fought somebody even near that size. He's only fought lions and other things up to that point. But now he wants to go and try and fight somebody that's twice his height. It makes no sense. But God said, I'll be with you. And he chose to believe him. And all of a sudden, now we hear it, even to this day, thousands of years later. Okay? So your past can't be proof that you're disqualified. Can anybody tell me what the most valuable place on earth is? The most valuable place on earth? One person. Quick. The grave? Correct. The cemetery is full of unrealized gains. Hopes, dreams, books, songs, businesses, opportunities, solutions to problems that will never be released. They are gone. God could have created somebody for something, and he was the first option, or his first choice for creating him for that. And instead, he'll say, well, the number 2 that I have won't be born for another 1,000 years. And the world will just go without that solution because that person couldn't realize or materialize the potential that they had within them. When we look at the graveyard, that is the most valuable place on earth. It sounds grim, but that's what will end up happening to people when you don't realize these gains that you have. When we have a business, if somebody is worth, these billionaires that are worth all of this money on paper, this person's worth 300 billion on paper, but he doesn't have 300 billion in cash, right? It's unrealized gains. That's quite literally potential. It's the best way to understand it, all right? That 300 billion is there. They can take out loans against and use the 300 billion of unrealized gain as collateral in case they don't pay back these loans. But what you need to realize is that that's not real until it's been sold and cashed in. And until then, it stays in the abstract. But because it's trusted, and we have analysts and people that are paid a lot of money to be able to say this thing is trustworthy and we can trust it. So the banks will give loans against it, but it's still unrealized. It's still not real. It's still in the abstract, okay? And in the same way, that's what a lot of people's hopes and dreams are. They are unrealized. They stay in the abstract. They're not manifested. They're not brought to light. And they will just leave this world filled up to the brim just as much as they entered. Every child, and that's the crazy thing, when I was holding my daughter, I realized, I said, as a woman, she is born with every egg that she will ever have, ever. For the rest of her life. She's born with all of it. So that means we were born with everything that we needed. She came prepackaged, filled to the brim with everything that she needed, all right? And if she leaves the world still filled with everything that she would have ever needed, she didn't exhaust any of that, that's not a life worth living. Everyone has a seed that can bear much fruit. Jesus says in John 15:8, he says, when you produce much fruit, you are my true disciples. This brings great glory to my Father. I'll read that one more time. When you produce much fruit, you are my true disciples. This brings great glory to my Father. So what is he saying here? When you produce much fruit, you're a seed, and when you're a seed, you produce fruit. So when you produce fruit, you are my true disciple. So if you don't produce fruit, then you are not his true disciple. These are his words. This brings great glory to my Father. So if you don't produce much fruit, you are not his true disciple, and you don't bring great glory to the Father. You are meant to produce fruit. And when we say fruit, it's visible results. That's what fruit is. It's visible results. You can see the fruit on somebody. If I have a seed and I grow it, apple tree, and an apple comes out of it, that is a fruit that has come from that tree, okay? That is the fruit. It's visible results. And when we say visible, we're not talking about fame, wealth, money. We're not talking about all of those things. We're talking about the fruit of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. You can see those things on a person. And Christ says, if you don't see the fruit in the person, check their fruit before you listen to them. Don't just listen to somebody because what they're saying makes sense. Look at their fruit. Then make your judgment. That's what it is. Look at the fruit, then make your judgment. Don't make your judgment because the words are sweet in your ears. Look at the fruit first. Then you can judge if that person is worthy of listening to or not. Okay? You are meant to produce visible results, like the fruit of the Spirit we just mentioned. Fruit glorifies the Father, and fruit only comes from planted, nurtured seed that is planted on a solid foundation. And we spoke about building on the rock last week. That episode has just dropped now, so check it out on the YouTube when you go home to get more context here. Chad spoke about it in very, very good detail. We heard what foundation is. Foundation is the lowest load-bearing structure. That's what foundation is. That's what Christ is for us, the lowest load-bearing structure. Any skyscraper you see was put on the bedrock, the lowest load-bearing structure, in order to put the structure that holds the rest of the building up on it. And Christ is that structure for us. Okay? Fruit only comes from planted, nurtured seed that is planted on a solid foundation. So, my challenge to each and every person here is to leave empty. People usually almost cringe when I say leave empty. You shouldn't have anything left. You know when you're playing sports, because I've done sports all my life, the coach always says, empty the tank. Like, there's no gasoline left. Don't do it in a car because you could get stuck in the middle of nowhere. But in general, empty the tank. That means you've exhausted all of your resources, everything that you've had. You have nothing left to give. You know, that's really the thing that should be respected and even, praised. What my mom used to do, she wouldn't care if I didn't get the best grade. I never got the best grades. But for her, She was like, did you try your best? Like, you tried your absolute best. I'm like, yes. I said, well, I'm happy then, because there's nothing more that you could have done. I can't sit here comparing you to the people that are getting straight A's. My child is not that. And she knew. She understood. I'm not going to get what they're getting. But my child tried his best. Their child didn't try their best. But they got straight A's. They're just, they're just smart. But there will come a time in life when you'll need, to try your very best, and you won't have that capacity. Whereas I've been trained on it from the very beginning. All right? So in the same way, it's to leave empty. Empty the tank. Christ left the world so empty that there wasn't even a body left in the tomb. Think about that. He left so empty. They opened the tomb, there's no body inside the tomb. Nothing is in there. That's how empty he left the world. He did it at 33. In 3 years, that's when he started his ministry, at 30. In 3 years, he shook the world and touched the lives of billions of people. And then he said, Christ said, not me, Christ said, I tell you the truth. Anyone who believes in me will do the same works I've done and even greater works. Wait, Christ, wait. Hold on a second. What's the fact here? The fact is, this is my life. This is all I've done. Christ says, yeah, forget about the facts. The truth is, anyone who believes in me will do the same works I've done and even greater works, because I'm going to be with the Father. You can ask for anything in my name and I will do it, so the Son can bring glory to the Father. Yes, ask me for anything in my name and I will do it. John 14, 12 to 14. So if Jesus finished by 33 and said, greater works you will do, not me, you will do, well, and me, then your excuses don't stand up next to his promise. If the truth is that you will do greater works than he, why are you looking at the facts to say, I haven't done this, I haven't done that, this is how things were, you don't understand, this is why I can't? Christ said that. That was his promise. That's the truth. And in the same way, he said that to every single person that's here. Just like God said to Moses that you're going to set my captives free. Just like he said to Gideon, mighty warrior. Just like he said to Peter, you are the rock. Just like he said to Paul, you're going to reach the Gentiles. In the same way, Christ said to you, greater works will you do. So why are we still sitting here looking at the facts? Accept the truth. Because the truth shall make you free. Amen? Amen. Okay, so we're going to get into a discussion. And in this discussion, I really want to emphasize that vulnerability is power. Last week or 2 weeks ago, when I did that pursuit of purpose, the amount of people that spoke to me afterwards to say, this is exactly what I needed to hear. All right? Because somebody that was in that life is hearing this saying, I'm not on my own, all right? Because of the vulnerability, the power of Christ is shining through. So in this exercise that we're about to do, I really want us to emphasize that vulnerability with each other, okay? Because I put my stuff out there to a bunch of strangers. They don't know me from anywhere, Before Manifest, you guys didn't know me. Why am I telling a bunch of strangers the stuff that I used to do, all right? It doesn't make sense, but there's power in it. So, we're going to get into a discussion. I want us to break into 4 groups, all right? So 4 smaller groups in maybe like a circle, all right? I know we did a big circle before, but we're going to ask 4 questions. And I really want you to go deep, okay? And I want to give enough time for us to be able to do that. Yes, we still have a good bit of time. So, the first question that we're going to ask, what is the seed that is inside you right now? What is the seed that is inside you right now? That could be a dream. That could be a calling that hasn't yet been released. You might have not even said it to anybody before. Maybe nobody knows about it. You've just, been in your room and you just kind of have always wanted to, manifest something or bring it out, but you've never just had the courage to go and do it. I want you to say what it is. And if it doesn't scare you, you're not thinking big enough. And that's a challenge. If it doesn't scare you, you're not thinking big enough. Do you think Gideon, when God said to him, cut your army by 10%, I want you to take these 300 men and fight against 30,000 men. Do you think that he said, I want you to do that so you can understand that my power can work? I want you to understand that you have no room to say that it was anything other than me, because he wants to glorify the Father. So in the same way, if you have something that is inside you and it doesn't scare you, you're not thinking big enough. And it doesn't need to be compared to anybody else. Some people's could be bigger than others. But let me tell you, for you, if it doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. I want you to bring that up to the people that are around you. And I want you to say it out with your mouth, because like we said, life and death are in the power of the tongue. The second question is going to be, what has blocked you from planting or nurturing it? What stopped you from putting it in soil and putting some water on that seed? What was it? I want you to go into it. And then the third step is, what is one specific step that you can take this week to water that seed? So now it's a challenge, because when you come back next week, somebody's going to ask you, did you put even a drop of water? Just a drop. Because there's still progress. Listen, a centimeter is still moving, it's still progress. If a building is sinking by 1 centimeter a year, everybody's going to be terrified, because they know it's still progress, right? So in the same way, if you have a very big mission, a very big purpose, and you move just a centimeter, even in a year, is that still not progress? When we think about the vastness of the universe, if something moves a centimeter every 1,000 years, in a million years, how many centimeters is that? It could be something very big to just, push the Earth off orbit and it flies somewhere into the universe, right? Like that's how little tiny things have a very large impact. So in the same way, what is something, specific step that you can take this week to water that seed? Okay, let's break into groups. Please, let's break into 4 groups. And I want you to be with somebody that you don't know, or somebody that's new, okay? I don't want you to be with people that you're comfortable with. I want you to split. Actually, I know what to do. I'm going to count in numbers. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1 goes here, 2 goes here, 3 goes here, 4 goes here, okay? Okay, let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Lynette, 2, 3. Nora, 4. Terrence, 1. Tosin, Tiwa, 2. Okay, let's split into the groups. But before we do that, let's just close. I just want to thank the Lord Jesus for everybody that is here.